welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 377 for the 10th of January 2016. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. Coming up on the Skeptic Zone this week, more proof, if more proof was needed, which it's not, more proof that the Skeptic Zone reporters are second to none. Jo Alabaster kicks off the show with evidence, please, talking about a horrible substance. Really nasty, awful substance, Black Salve. If you haven't heard about Black Salve, you're probably very lucky. This is a gooey paste that you can, I wouldn't recommend it, put on yourself, and the claims are it will cure your cancer, skin cancers and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't. It eats away at your skin. And the last Mind Body Wallet Festival I was in Sydney, in fact, Jo Alabaster was with me at the time, we came across a stall selling books on how to make Black Salve and selling videos called One Answer to Cancer, all about Black Salve. Horrible stuff. Avoid it like the plague. Jo Alabaster will tell you more at the top of the show. Following that, it's our guest reporter all the way from Canberra in the ACT, the Australian Capital Territory. Kevin Davies interviews Dr. Rachelle Duvall from the US Environmental Protection Agency. A little bit of an interesting topic there, a little bit unusual for the Skeptic Zone, but a nice little report nevertheless, and it just goes to show that if you are lucky enough to live in Canberra, you can certainly attend many interesting talks. Head to www.canberraskeptics.org.au or just Google Canberra Skeptics. They've got talks all year and social events and skeptics in the pub and all sorts of things. A really active group in Canberra. After that, it's a week in science from the Royal Institution of Australia, www.riaus.org.au in the beautiful city of Adelaide. Hello, Dr. Paul Willis, the director of the Royal Institution of Australia Fine Scientific Outreach Group, as Skeptic Zone listeners well know. Then to round off the show, Maynard's spooky action. Maynard heads once more to Skeptics in the Pub in Sydney and asks pub goers, what do they think of New Year's resolutions and what are their predictions for 2016? Thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone. It's a listener-supported podcast, as we might say. And thank you to those people who have been buying Mr. Cat's origami jewellery, which also goes directly to supporting the Skeptic Zone. Links are on the Skeptic Zone website, skepticzone.tv. And some new items just up for sale at the moment. I've put a pendant, a resin pendant, which is a tiny little origami book, On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, and also some books by Jane Austen. I'm going to increase that soon. I might put some Sherlock Holmes up or something like that. Check it out. It's all good fun, and it all aids the Skeptic Zone. But now it's time for me to run downstairs, have a nice cool glass of ginger ale with ice, because it's quite a hot day here in Sydney today. A nice cool glass of ginger ale and ice while I'm sipping that. With Fred the cat at my feet, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. What we want is some more evidence, please. Here's Jo Alabaster.
Hello, this is Jo Alabaster. When you spot something that's of concern, it can be worth spending a couple of minutes filling in a report or noting it publicly via social media. Little actions such as these are greater than no action. They do add up and can be the starting point for greater change. This week, I went and had a minor procedure to remove a lesion after having a skin cancer check performed. It's highly unlikely that the lesion is a potentially problematic one, but that can't be completely ruled out unless it's sent to pathology and examined. This experience had me thinking about skin cancer and alternative medicine, namely Black Salve. For those of you not familiar with Black Salve, also known as bloodroot or cansema, it is a herbal preparation which proponents claim can draw out cancer cells when applied to the skin. Black Salve preparations typically contain zinc chloride and chaparral, also known as creosote bush, and bloodroot, the extract of which is called sanguinarine, an ammonium salt which attacks and destroys living tissue. Black salves are corrosive substances, classified as escherichotics. Escherichotics are substances which cause tissue to die and slough off. Black salve proponents believe that when this escherichotic destroys tissue, it is somehow targeting cancer cells, and that when scabs form and fall off, the cancer is being removed from the body. This is sadly very wrong. There is no mechanism by which black salve can mobilize and destroy cancer cells in a targeted manner. The salve merely damages tissue, healthy or not. Use of black salve can result in ulceration, infection, skin damage, deep tissue damage, and muscle damage. If you're feeling not too squeamish and want to see the extent of the damage black salve can cause, Google black salve and have a look at either the Google image search tab or the Black Salve Facebook page. Be warned though, you'll see people with huge ulcers, large scabs, and people who have literal holes in their faces and large areas of tissue missing from arms, necks, and breasts. It's fairly disturbing, frankly, both that people believe they're doing themselves good by using black salve, and that they feel that damaging themselves in this way is less traumatic than going to a doctor, being examined, and undergoing evidence-based cancer diagnosis and treatment. And here's another thing which is troublesome. Many users of black salve hear of it via word of mouth from other black salve users, naturopaths, and other alternative medicine proponents. Some decide to use black salve after a diagnosis from a GP. My own skin cancer doctor has had people ask him about its use, much to his dismay, while others self-diagnose skin cancers or act on the opinions of unqualified people online. There is a reason we have doctors who are specially trained in skin cancer detection and treatment, and pathology labs who conduct histological examination of tissue samples. Diagnosis of skin cancer is by no means as simple as looking to the opinion of someone unqualified to do so. Of course, do keep a close eye on your own skin, but make an appointment with a GP or skin cancer clinic if you notice anything unusual or concerning, and speak with them about how regularly it would be appropriate for you to have your skin checked by a professional. 2 in 3 Australians will be diagnosed with skin cancer by the time they're 70, so this is really worth keeping on top of. To find out more about reducing risks and screening, there's a lot of useful information on the Cancer Council's website at cancer.org.au. Back to black salve. Self or internet diagnosis and the use of black salve don't allow for accuracy. Some lesions and skin spots are benign and don't require any treatment at all. Conversely, those that do need their progression assessed. Black salve can leave behind cancerous cells. The use of black salve can lead to pointless injury and a false sense of having cancer treated. Why do people choose to use black salve? Well, mistrust of evidence-based medicine is a factor, alongside the belief that black salve is somehow safer because it is natural. As with many other dangerous beliefs, getting accurate information out into the public sphere can help, but it can also further polarise those who are heavily invested in the belief. There's a substantial number of black salve adherents who believe that black salve is a cure for cancer being suppressed by Big Pharma, the government, lizard people, and what have you. Publicising the dangers of black salve is one way to reduce its use, another is via regulation. This is a difficult one, as while the TGA have deemed it unlisted on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods, there is no effective ban on black salve products. The TGA has, however, issued an alert recommending people do not use black salve and associated ineffective cancer cures, which is useful, as we can then report those selling black salves or products recommending their use, such as the notorious DVD One Answer to Cancer, to the TGA. In 2013, the TGA responded to a complaint made regarding the Australian Vaccination Network's promotion of black salve and the sale of the One Answer to Cancer DVD, citing several breaches of the Therapeutic Goods Act 1989. The TGA ordered the removal of any promotion of Black Salve from the AVN's website, and that a retraction be posted, including a link to the TGA's consumer alert on its use. Personally, I'd like to see regulatory agencies come down harder on dangerous products such as Black Salve, but their consumer alert can be useful when approaching third parties. The night before my minor procedure, I decided to have a quick look online to see whether I could find anybody selling Black Salve in Australia. Unfortunately, I didn't have to look too hard. There were several listings on eBay for Black Salve, posted by sellers based in Australia. I filled out reports for each one on their item pages, and then decided to have a go at contacting eBay publicly via Twitter with a polite tweet. Quote, "Hi eBay AU. Several AU listings for Black Salve/Bloodroot Salve. Unsafe and not on TGA register. Can you remove?" With a link to the TGA's warning. End quote. I didn't have a great amount of confidence that anything would come of it, but thought it worth a try nonetheless. The next morning, I awoke to a reply from eBay's Australian account. Quote, Jo Alabaster. "Hey Jo, thanks so much for bringing this to our attention. We're removing all listings now. Shout if there's anything else." End quote. Wow. And a few more listings did appear from the same sellers, with words slightly changed in order to try and evade detection and deletion. I sent links to them back to eBay via Twitter, and they promptly deleted these also. When I let eBay know how much I appreciated their help, the person handling their Twitter account replied, quote, "No worries at all. I made the mistake of Googling that stuff." End quote. I suppose for most people, the images of Black Salve use speak for themselves, and I feel very fortunate that I happened to come across somebody in a position of power to virtually get it off the shelves who was eager to assist when making a complaint. Such people are out there. We don't always find them, or they can't always act, when trying to alert businesses, organisations, or dare I say government-run health websites, to dangerous misinformation or products they're involved in the promotion of. Lobbying against quackery is often a more time-consuming and complicated process than a couple of eBay forms and some tweets. It really is worth taking that first step, though, whether it results in a small and immediate success or is the beginning of a greater campaign. And if you don't feel that larger-scale complaints, lobbying and publicising are your thing, get in touch with other skeptics. Let them know what's going on and see whether they're inspired to take action. There are days when I feel rather overwhelmed by the amount of dangerous quackery out there and helpless to do much about it. I'm acquainted with some people who accomplish amazing things. Medical researchers, doctors and nurses, journalists, Stop the AVN and the Good Thinking Society, and individuals who utilise their expertise and passion to expose and formally complain about charlatans, quacks and dangerously misled proponents of woo. I've had the privilege of meeting great activists and educators, dedicated communicators, those who engage with the media, the public, and with bodies creating policy, and their efforts completely blow me away. Over the past few years that I've been involved with skepticism, I've become convinced that we can all be doing something useful. Whether it's as simple as sending a complaint to an e-commerce website, engaging politely on social media with those in a position to help stop quackery being spread, sharing evidence-based information when somebody makes an inaccurate claim, letting people know that David Avocado Wolf makes some very dangerous claims about medicine and suggesting they stop sharing his memes on Facebook, or publicly or financially supporting campaigns run by other skeptics. Many great skeptical triumphs, which have helped diminish the proliferation of woo, began with a single person noticing something was wrong, perhaps discussing it with other skeptics, and acting upon it. That said, don't discount the tiny triumphs. They definitely add up. If there's a chance that an action you could take may bring about any measure of good, please consider going ahead with making that complaint or politely engaging with somebody. It may well be worth it. You can find Evidence Please at evidenceplease.net or on Facebook. And I'm Jo Alabaster on Twitter. Stop by and say hello.
Now on Belfast FM, we turn to the personal ads. Easygoing and confident skeptic seeks other critical thinkers for fun, laughter, and good times. Must be willing to apply logic liberally and a good listener. Expect something new and interesting every month. Come and meet me in Belfast in Northern Ireland. If this sounds like you, check out my profile on belfastskeptics.com. Music by Kevin MacLeod.
Well, I'm here again at King O'Malley's Irish Pub, where we have just been treated to another wonderful Science in the Pub.
My name is Dr. Rachelle Duvall, and I'm with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
And how long have you been with the EPA?
I have been with the EPA for 10 years.
And could you describe a bit of the functions of the EPA?
Sure. So the EPA is a federal government agency in the U.S., and our mission is to protect human health and the environment. So we actually do a number of different functions. A lot of people know us for putting out regulations, enforcing and developing regulations, and also research is a big area. We actually fund a lot of state and local organizations as well. We do a lot of things. So.
And what do you do in the EPA?
I'm with EPA's Office of Research and Development, and I am a scientist there. And right now I work on air pollution measurement methods, and these are used in air quality monitoring networks to make sure that the air is healthy for us to breathe and just protecting the environment.
And what would you say the state of air quality in the United States has been since you started with the EPA?
The air quality in the United States has always been very good since the Clean Air Act has been put in place, which is our act that is used to regulate air quality. So a lot of the states have been doing very well across the U.S. Some places have problems because of their geography or size or the amount of pollution. But for the most part, we have really good air quality in the United States.
And what sort of research do you do?
So I look at measurement methods, the equipment that's actually used to measure air pollutants. So I evaluate these, I test them, I analyze them, and make sure that we have the state-of-the-science instruments available to measure pollutants.
You had some of the instruments today. That was really impressive, just how small it's gotten.
Yes. So air pollution has been changing, especially monitoring the equipment that we use, and there have been these smaller, low-cost air pollution sensors that measure a lot of different pollutants like particulate matter, gaseous pollutants. So these are really becoming very popular because they're cheap. You can carry them around. They're very easy to operate, and a lot of communities are very interested in learning about their air quality.
Yeah, you were talking a bit about citizen science projects. Would you care to talk about those further? Because that sounded really interesting.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of work with citizen and community groups. So what we have, citizens, just common people who are not scientists, they actually run equipment for us, and there are these air pollution sensors that I showed earlier, and they collect data for us, and they help us to build our research and make it better.
So what are the big challenges facing air quality and dealing with air pollution for the future?
I think just getting people to understand that they can take a part in helping to reduce air quality, and different actions people can take, whether it's, maybe just walking to work or walking in general, and stop using cars and different types of transportation that creates pollution, and just changing their behaviors and attitudes about pollution just so that they become more aware.
For the final question, what is it about science that appeals to you so much? Like, what made you want to become a scientist?
Yeah. I've always loved math and chemistry, and I like the fact that I can really test out new things, and I can be a part of advances in technology and really make a difference. That's one thing that's really important to me.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was wonderful to talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you see that UFO sighting that made the news? What did that latest study about alternative treatments really say? Is this photo making the rounds real or a hoax? Doubtful News is a unique website featuring news about pseudoscience, the paranormal, anomalies, and questionable claims framed with a skeptical view. Come visit doubtfulnews.com every day for news about cryptozoology, conspiracies, shams, scams, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Doubtful News. Critical thinking is essential in assessing today's news. Duvall News helps you decide, can you really believe this stuff?
Have you ever wondered if there's life out there? Well, believe it or not, there's actually an equation to work out the probability of extraterrestrial life, and it's called the Drake equation. So there's this astronomer named Frank Drake, who back in 1959 started searching the universe for signals which may indicate the presence of intelligent life. Then in 1961, he was helping organise a conference and started thinking about all the factors which would need to be considered when trying to predict whether intelligent life was out there. What he came up with is this equation, which multiplies together the rate of star formation, the fraction of those stars which have planets, how many of those planets that could support life, the fraction of planets which could support life that actually develop life at some point, the fraction of civilizations that develop a technology that releases detectable signs of their existence into space, and the length of time for which such civilizations release detectable signals into space. Now, obviously some of those factors are measurable or can be calculated, but some we just don't know. I mean, how do you know how many planets with life go on to develop a civilization? Or how many of those develop technology which releases detectable signals? Because of these limitations, the Drake equation isn't really used to predict the abundance of life out there. But it is an interesting equation to just contemplate when thinking about life in the universe and what is required for us to find it. And now, 4 fast facts about the search for life on other planets. The Voyager space probes carry records which contain information about Earth and humans, in case it meets other life forms. Part of the Curiosity rover mission is to search for water on Mars, which could support the presence of life. The zone surrounding a star which gives planetary conditions which are just right for life is called the Goldilocks zone. And one problem of searching for life in the universe is that life may exist in a form we don't recognise as being alive, or in places we don't realise can even support life. Want to find out more about the search for life on other planets? Check out our website where we have some links. And we'll catch you right back here next week.
Are you enjoying the Skeptic Zone podcast and wondering where you can find more skeptical information? Skeptics on the Net is an online directory for everything skeptical. It features listings for skeptical podcasts, blogs, people, local groups, and more. It also includes the SOTN blog, where people in the know write introductions to their favorite skeptical and pseudoscientific topics. Please visit skepticsonthe.net.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, we're here at Skeptics in the pub in January, where it's all sort of quiet, a bit subtle, and we're pushed all into the corner here because tonight it will be happening and it will be revealed as I ask the 2 big questions of people. I ask New Year's resolutions, a lot of rubbish, and what are your predictions for 2016? Now, I've got a man here. What's your name, sir?
Drew.
And what brought you here, Drew? How did you find the place? How do you want to go? Okay, I want to hang out with the skeptics.
Vision from God, actually.
Wow. That's a new one. That is a new one. And how did the vision appear to you?
It just, behind my eyes, in my heart, in my head. It was just everywhere all at once. Which, admittedly, deeply ironic. I'm the first to say that.
Okay. And what do you expect out of hanging with the skeptics tonight?
Skepticism.
Okay. Okay. Well, there might be a little of that going on. I'm sceptic of your vision for a start, but that's just fair enough then. Now, what do you reckon about New Year's resolutions? A lot of rubbish. Did you make any? Have you broken it already?
I made a New Year's resolution back in 2012 not to make New Year's resolutions. So, read into that what you will.
No, I think that's a fairly sceptical approach. And what about any predictions for the year? What do you reckon?
11 and a half months from now, people are going to come up to me and come up to you and come up to George over there and say, "Oh my God, can you believe it's almost 2017?"
That's cool. And people will still want to have heard on New Year's Eve party like it's 1999.
Of course. Yeah, it's the best song ever.
Yeah, it's the best song. Of course, of that as well. And of course, look, my prediction for this year is to give up. Last year it was to get a job. The year before that was to get a better job. Now I've just given up. I just give up completely. And it's pretty easy. I think I can keep that one. Now, Richard, of course, have you got any predictions for the year?
I predict that...
it's an achievable prediction. Jeez, they're giving me... He's pretty mouthy for a guy who's along here for the first time. Anyway, yeah.
My first prediction is I'll be interrupted doing an interview. It works. Yeah. My second prediction is that come November, December this year, TV shows and newspapers will have predictions for 2017 from psychics.
And breaking news here, apparently something I've known for a long time, North Korea has announced that they've got a hydrogen bong. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's a typo. The hydrogen bong is at my place. It's something completely different. But back to Richard. Okay.
You know, I think the word skeptical was invented for North Korea. They claim no end of amazing things. I think they're going to claim that they've gone to Mars next.
Well, I was seeing on the Channel 10 site that there'd been a typo. They described it as the North Korean hydroponic bomb.
Thank you to Dr. Rachelle for catching that one. Yes.
Okay, but your predictions for the year?
My predictions for 2016, I think that Donald Trump will drop out of the presidential race.
Okay.
I think that Jeb Bush will drop out of the presidential race. And I think the next president of the United States will be probably Hillary, maybe Bernie, who knows.
Okay, well, that's wonderfully vague of you there, Richard. Now, of course, any New Year's resolutions, are they actually any use at all? Like, you being a poo-poo, a cynical skeptic from way back, wouldn't have much to say about any of them, would you?
I've made many New Year's resolutions over the years, and I've forgotten each of them. I think my New Year's resolution this year is not to make any, but everybody says that.
Oh, and of course, a very big historical event has occurred this week, Richard Saunders.
It has indeed. We must say congratulations to Skeptoid for 500 episodes. Now, the Skeptic Zone is still in the 300s. It's quite an effort to get one out every week, so to get one out every week for how many years it is, 500, what an effort. Congratulations, Skeptoid.
Look, congratulations, Brian, on 487 episodes. They were really good. The other one's not so hot, but 487 really good episodes of Skeptoid, which is better than Planet Maynard. We've only had 3 out of all the ones we've done. Well done, and most of those episodes too done from the hot tub of truth. So a lot of bubbling, hot, salty, chlorinated water went into making those 500 episodes, people, and I hope you appreciate it. So, what do you think of New Year's resolutions? Do you make them? Are they achievable? Is there any point? What are we doing here?
I think they're good because it encourages people to think about improving themselves and making changes. And they might not be in a place where they're going to do that at other times of the year. And this is an opportunity for them to think about it. The problem is that they don't have perhaps the skills or the tools to follow through and maintain or sustain those changes. But at least they're thinking about it, and even having an intention and thinking about doing something better or different can be enough to make significant changes. So I think it's good. I think it's good. They don't always follow through. That doesn't always work, but
is this the best time of year for that, when everyone's drinking in the middle of summer after eating their guts out at Christmas?
Absolutely.
Maybe if we did them in June, maybe June would be a good time. In the middle of winter, you go, I'll cut back on the booze then, maybe.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, so there might be more temptations over summer. I mean, we've got Iran here, my goodness me. Put the glass down, Iran. What do you think about the whole thing? Do you think it's just a pointless doing this? Now, here's someone who actually had... Now, you had a New Year's resolution, didn't you? And a prediction.
My prediction is that somebody will be named John this year when they are born, and they will weigh 3.11 kilograms.
That's incredibly specific.
It is, but due to my odds, I'm pretty darn sure it'll happen.
Right, okay. Obviously a betting kind of guy. He's on the ball, around.
He's on the ball. He's good with statistics.
Okay, now what about with trying to do predictions this year? Got any predictions for this year, or have you even tried to do a New Year's resolution?
Okay, New New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, because as the president of the Skeptics, I've got to say,
Yeah. So, New Year's resolutions, I've never bothered, but I must say, I actually like the idea of a specific date when you're going to make a big change, because then it's easy to say, it's been 3 months already, it's been 4 months. You don't have to start calculating, If it's so, the 1st of January is not a bad day to start something. I think the problem is that all the research. I mean, there's just an article published just a few days ago about research that was done in the past that shows that New Year's resolutions, by and large, fail just like all other resolutions. There's no better or worse than other resolutions. So, but it is, but it's good to have any resolution. I think if there's things that are important to you, I'll tell you in what way it's good. New Year's resolutions don't tend to be small things. So I think it's an opportunity for people to say, this thing that I've really wanted to do for a very long time, stopping drinking or reducing drinking or starting to go to the gym or whatever, it's a time when people make decisions. And I think a lot of other times people say, I'm in the middle of this, I'm in the middle of that. It's a time for people to make decisions. But the reality is that they fail just as much as any other decisions made any other time.
Okay. And any predictions about it?
Okay, so let's start with the big ones. So there's going to be floods in Queensland, earthquakes. Particularly, I predict earthquakes. In Japan and in the Western United States, potentially even around the San Francisco area. I predict that there will be potentially trouble between Israel and Palestine.
That's a bold move.
It's a bold decision. I know. And I think the Americans will get involved in places in the world where they do not belong. So I know.
East Maitland.
I've taken
East Maitland, New South Wales. They'll be so over that.
So I think I've taken enough of risk. I'm not willing to say anything more.
Okay, cool. Sure. And we've met one person who's along for the first time tonight. We have a couple that are along here tonight. Who have we got?
Nadia.
And
Stan.
And are you both scientists or anything?
I have a master's in biology, so sure.
Wow. And what do you do?
I'm an IT guy, but I have a master's in computer science, so I guess I'm half a scientist.
Wow, yeah. Well, you're both better than me. I'm always guessing and stuff in that. So you can plug an Ethernet cord in record time, can't you?
I can, indeed.
Now, have either of you made any resolutions for the year, or do you think they're just a lot of rubbish? Put your skeptical eye on New Year's resolutions. What do you think about them?
I don't really care for New Year resolutions. If you are determined to do something, I don't think you need a New Year resolution. You can just have the determination to do it and do something on your own. But if some people like to have some date and follow through, that's fine with me.
Okay. Any predictions, particularly in the IT field? You might be able to see further into the future than us mere mortals.
Not in the IT field, but I think Donald Trump will become president.
Oh, that's a bold one there.
Not that I want it, that's my prediction.
That's 2017. I think that's 2017, not 2016.
Well, we'll kind of know by the end of the year, I think.
Let's predict he's going to get the Republican nomination then.
Okay.
So we can at least have fun listening to him debate Hillary or whoever gets the Democratic.
That would be pretty interesting. What about you and resolutions? How do you feel about them?
I don't have New Year's resolutions, and they may work for some people, but if they only make you feel depressed afterwards because you didn't follow through, then maybe they will just make you feel worse in the end, and it's not worth it.
You don't hear anyone talking about their New Year's resolutions in February, do they? Really? It's all over by the end of January, really?
Yeah, and then you forget about it. Don't mention it because I don't do it anymore. Just hide.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming along tonight. I hope we'll see you here again.
Will do, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, remember those predictions, people. Okay, now, what do you think on the issue of New Year's resolutions or on the vis-a-vis predictions 2016?
I'll go for both.
Okay.
So I think for the predictions, I think it's good because we reboot. But the problem is, it happens, we have financial New Year resolutions. I tend to have resolutions on the hour. You need something. So I think it helps for a lot of people. But it gives us something. I think the reason why it's good in New Year's, we're on holidays, there's that break, trying to break habits and all this stuff.
And what sort of resolution do you have on the hour? Oh, I won't leave work early. That sort of thing. Oh, no, I won't leave work early.
Yeah, well, I'm just doing exams or stuff like that. That said, I'm still looking at... My problem was being the year 2000. When that occurred, I had my resolution, which I still haven't done yet, and that's getting into 16 years now. I don't want to talk about it, but I think that's the problem. So you need to be far enough away from the change of centuries to be close enough. So maybe the criteria would be from, say, plus or minus 20 years, that area around the turn of the century, you don't make resolutions.
Okay, no, I think that's a fair enough thing. What about a prediction, Buck? You look like a guy who's just a touch psychic. That's what the word on the street is anyway.
Sidekick or sidekick?
No, I could have got mixed up. Something like that. Look, the people were driving past in a car very quick. I didn't hear what they yelled.
Exactly. No, I think actually there's going to be a lot more issues between skeptics and the woo merchants. I notice on Twitter at the moment there's a lot of people firing backwards and forwards. Shots.
What's going on there? There's some naturopath who's just getting all steamed up in his broccoli.
This is just the start. I think everyone's made their New Year's resolutions about that. So maybe, I think this year, people are going to get aggressive. It's the year of being aggressive, where skeptics and the other crowd start coming out and we start yelling at each other. And it's weird because it's supposed to be based on an educated, considered position. Everyone's just name-calling it. It's sort of strangely fantastic to listen and watch to.
And did you want to get into it with the naturopaths or not? Or did you stay out of that kind of thing? Do you enjoy a good Twitter argument, or are you elsewhere when that's happening?
I must admit, I do secretly lurk around on Twitter and see these things and throw the occasional little comment. But it's, again, you can't solve the world on Twitter, especially with 140 characters or less. I don't know why these intelligent people are doing it. There's far more interesting things to do.
Maybe just post a rude photo or something, just throw everyone off the track.
Yeah, that might be good. Maybe that's it. Well, maybe we should decrease it to 14 characters. Okay. Have the whole arguments based on 14 characters. I think that will distill these difficult arguments. You can't. Why? I mean, it's impossible to do it in 140 characters.
Well, I think you predict a very busy year ahead on Twitter, sir.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
G'day, this is Dr. Karl Kruszelnicki, proud to be a skeptic, and you can find out more about me at drkarl.com and get lots of free stuff there as well.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. I've noticed in the last few weeks, or the last week anyway, that Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook posted up a nice picture. It's a very cute picture of him and his daughter waiting at the doctor's office for her to get her vaccinations. Well, the anti-vaccination brigade have lost the plot again, and some of the responses to that have been simply vile. Now, I love to send them up, as you well know. I call them those zany, wacky, outrageous people from the anti-vaccination brigade, but don't make any mistake. I take them very seriously. They are, in some situations, simply dangerous people. I think we'll follow up this story. We'll see if we can have something about it on next week's show. But in the meantime, if you Google that, if you Google Mark Zuckerberg and vaccination, I think you'll see some of the vile venom lies that have been perpetrated. Good luck to Mark Zuckerberg. I've got no special feelings towards him, one way or the other. He seems to be a decent guy, but he's certainly doing the right thing by getting his daughter vaccinated. And I know he never misses the Skeptic Zone. Thank you again to our wonderful reporters, Jo Alabaster. Wow, that was a great report this week on Black Salve. Thank you to Maynard, who's always there with his microphone, ready to ask the questions. Looking forward later on to more reports from our other reporters, Iran, Dr. Rachelle, and of course the wonderful Heidi Robinson. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders, signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.